Does a Christmas Tree Mafia have a hold on New York City? The business is allegedly so cutthroat. It's filled with bribes, extortion, threats, and even murder. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Well, tonight we're going to talk about how the mafia took over the selling of Christmas trees, if you can actually believe that. We'll also bring you some new Mandela effects about the famous poem, "Twas the Night Before Christmas." That's
Of course we will.
Mind.
And don't miss tonight's Metaphysical Minute segment, a live Q&A, and finish out the show with everyone's favorite top 10 weirder news of the week to keep you laughing.
And it's the Friday before Christmas, so you know we need to get into the weird research and things that will bring you a little extra cheer. So there's no need to wait, and we'll see you out
on the edge of terrible jokes.
And if you're listening to our Edge of Wonder podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or elsewhere, please leave us a 5-star rating and review to help us reach even more people. And remember to like, follow, subscribe, and all the good stuff. Rumble, YouTube, Ganjing World, Twitter, Facebook, wherever
you may be this fine Christmas.
Wherever, whenever. Yeah, anyway, how you doing, Rob? Nice shirt.
Pretty good. Yeah, nice shirt yourself.
Yeah, I got a...
It looks like one of Santa's elves farted on that shirt.
I actually get the most compliments of any Christmas clothing I have. I get the most compliments on this one.
How could you not?
Yeah, and you gave it to me for.
I remember. I was like, the person who can pull this shirt off best would be Ben.
Yeah, actually, it's really cool. So
let's see yours too, Rob.
Oh yeah, T-Rex shooting lightning out of its mouth. By the way, Ben, have you seen Godzilla -1 yet?
Dude, everyone has been asking me about it. My brother said it was the best movie that he's seen all year.
It's so good.
Yeah. I've talked to 3 people now that have told me that it was the best movie. They were like I can't explain why it's good. You just have to watch it.
No, the story was
that's what everyone's like. Finally, a movie that is telling a story, and my brother's like, you actually care about the people who die.
Yeah, and also though, the way that they portray Godzilla was more accurate than any other Godzilla movie, and there's some special powers in there that you're like, what the heck?
I was hoping to see it this week, or this weekend. So I'm going to try to go see it.
All right, well, let me know what you think when you do. It's worth every cent.
I'm excited by it. That's for sure.
Well,
all right.
What's the funny and interesting info here we got?
The origins of A Christmas Carol.
Okay, what do we got here?
Misunderstanding in this graveyard led to Charles Dickens writing A Christmas Carol. This is the Canongate Kirkyard. In 1841, Dickens was giving a lecture here in Edinburgh. He went for a stroll round the Royal Mile to kill some time and found himself ogling tombstones. One in particular caught his attention. The inscription read, "Here lies Ebenezer Lennox Scroggie, a meal man." Dickens misread it as, "Here lies Ebenezer Lennox Scroggie, a mean man." And he wondered just how bad you'd have to be to wind up with that on your gravestone. Ebenezer Scrooge was born. Ironically, Scroggie wasn't a mean man at all. He was known as a generous host and for throwing the best parties. I wonder what he'd make of his almost namesake. Not to mention those Muppets.
Dude, that is so funny. Yeah, that is so funny. I had no idea that was the actual... I always wondered where Ebenezer Scrooge, where that name came from. I didn't know that it was from this graveyard.
Scroggie's a great name, though.
Scroggie. Dude, I love the Scottish accent.
Yeah, what an accent. That, half of the reason I was engaged in that was his accent.
100%.
Yeah.
Speaking of accents, we have the Mind the Gap here as well.
This one you guys got to read.
All right, I got this. Just before Christmas 2012, staff at Embankment Tube Station were approached by a woman who was very upset. She kept asking them where the voice had gone. They weren't sure what she meant. The voice? The voice, she said. The man who says, mind the gap. Don't worry, the staff at Embankment said. The announcement still happens, but they've all been updated. New digital system, new voices, more variety. The staff asked her if she was okay. That voice, she explained, was my husband.
Wow. No
The
way.
woman, a GP, I don't know what GP is called, Dr. Margaret McCollum, explained that her husband was an actor called Oswald Lawrence. Oswald had never become famous, but he had been the chap who had recorded all the Northern Line announcements back in the 70s. And Oswald had died in 2007.
Wow.
GP is probably general practitioner.
Must be.
General practitioner.
Oswald's death had left a hole in Margaret's heart, but one thing had helped. Every day on her walk to work, she got to hear his voice. Sometimes when it hurt too much, she explained, she'd just sit on the platform at Embankment and listen to the announcements for a bit longer. For 5 years, this had become her routine. She knew he wasn't really there, but his voice, the memory of him, was. To everyone else, it had just been an announcement. To her, it had been the ghost of the man she still loved. And now even that had gone. The staff at Embankment were apologetic, but the whole underground had this new digital system. It just had to be done. They promised, though, that if the old recordings existed, they'd try to find a copy for her. Margaret knew this was unlikely, but thanked them anyway. In the new year, Margaret McCollum sat on Embankment Station on her way to work, and over the speakers, she heard a familiar voice, the voice of a man she had loved so much, never thought she'd hear again. Mind the gap, said Oswald Lawrence. Because it had turned out a lot of people at Embankment with London Underground, with TFL and beyond, had lost loved ones and wished they could hear them again. And they'd all realized that with luck, just this once, for one person, they might be able to make that happen. And that is why today, even in 2023, if you go down to Embankment Station in London and sit on the northbound platform on Northern Line, you will hear a completely different voice say "Mind the Gap" to anywhere else on the Underground. It's Oswald. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Mind the Gap.
That's his voice. That's cool. Interesting. That's really nice of them to put that back up there.
Nice story. Yes. All right. We have the last one here. Something about Rockefeller. Oh, yeah.
You're going to skip this Abyssal one?
Well, we have a lot to cover.
Yeah,
so
you're right. Let's go straight to Rockefeller.
Let's go to Rockefeller. 1872 Rockefeller. I'm not even sure.
1872 Rockefeller bought up, shut down, or bankrupt 90% of the oil companies. Our good old Constitution came into place, and in 1911, the Supreme Court found Rockefeller in violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act and split Standard Oil into 34 independent companies. So they said, you can't have the monopoly on this. You're done. You think that changed who he was? No. He promised to bankrupt America. At that very same time, they were learning how to turn petrochemicals, exactly what he had at his fingertips with the oil, into pharmaceuticals. Now, John D. Rockefeller's biggest threat was natural health. So what does he do? Being the businessman he is, he donates money to the medical schools because he wants to control. And what do you do when you want to control someone? You give him money. And then he hired a guy by the name of Flexner to study the school's curriculum, to figure out what they were teaching everybody, and to persuade the government to establish allopathic medicine, which used the unnatural substances to treat diseases. This is how Western medicine was founded. So in 1872, Rockefeller bought up,
Lindsay, yeah, you can pause it. So, yeah.
Kudos to that lady for breaking that down so well.
Yeah, she really did do a great job of that. And this is all in our big oil industrial complex series that we have on Rise TV.
Oh, you mean Ben? You and I were on top of that?
We were actually. And one thing she doesn't mention is that when they broke up the Standard Oil, that actually was what Rockefeller wanted to happen. Because at that point, what he did was then he rebought the stock of every single company of the smaller companies.
Controlled them all anyway.
He became the first billionaire in the world. Rockefeller did. So
fell right into his dirty trap.
It did. And then aside from the medical industry, I mean, aside from giving them money, he was like, oh, hey, I'm going to give you money, but I have a really close friend of mine that I would like you to hire as your executive director or whatever, and that's how you take over the medical industry. So
There's a lot I want to say about this, but we've got a lot to talk about this show.
We got so much to talk about. We can get back to it if we have time. Right now, let's do the Mandela Effect, or the Bendela Effect, as we call them. This is a big one.
First, let's play a trailer.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we'll play a trailer first, then we'll get into the Mandela Effect that you guys are going to be freaking out.
Oh, yeah. Check this trailer out. It's going to be our big oil industrial complex trailer. So if you're looking to watch that, you can join rise.tv. If you're watching us, we've got a deal going on, and this big oil industrial complex series that we did is pretty tight. So check this out.
The planet is dying. Reduce, reuse, recycle. We're made to feel guilty for causing climate change. But what if this is a bigger agenda, being financed by big oil itself? In Edge of Wonder's explosive series, The Big Oil Industrial Complex, we ask, is it all a big scam?
When it comes to oil, it does so much more than just provide our gas. Yet people know very little about how much oil goes into creating one of the biggest potential health threats on the planet right now: plastic.
Bike to work. Watch your carbon footprint. Don't use plastic straws. Are the companies pointing fingers really the ones responsible for the destruction?
Why are there plastics in our blood? And if everyone cares so much, then why is there not more pressure on these massive companies to make changes? Who's really behind it all, and why are they doing this?
Is the focus on profits, making these industries turn a blind eye to what they are really doing to our bodies?
Nowadays, plastic is in everything, including all bubblegum.
Get ready for an expose that will turn the oil industry on its head.
You won't believe what we found.
We didn't do the the intro where I am wearing the Santa hat, but anyways.
Oh, where's that? Oh, wait.
So
My bad. Sorry, guys.
all right, man. 'Twas the night before Christmas. This thing is the more I look at this poem, the weirder and weirder it gets for me. And I found so far there's definitely 3 Mandela effects in this poem, and I believe there's actually 4 now, or at least I'm sorry, 2 for sure. I think there could be 4. So, but the big one is well, okay, so the poem, and Mama in her kerchief and my in my cap had just settled blank
down for a warm winter's nap.
Our brains.
What? Wait, what?
Yeah. Mama and her kerchief and my in my cap had just settled our brains for a long winter's
No.
That's one. The what's the last line of this poem, Rob? The very last line.
Sorry, can you remind me what it's supposed to be?
So it's like Santa Claus is taking off and he says blah 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 to all.
No, you got it. Sorry, I don't remember. I'd have to have someone reading it to me, and then I could finish it, you know?
Okay, well, it says, I heard him explain as he drove out of sight. Merry, or is it okay? Sorry. So happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night, or Merry
Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
It is Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
No, that never happened.
Yeah. So even my mom was like, well, okay, well, it's British, right? And I'm like, nope, it's written by American. And it was first published in 1823 in the Troy Sentinel. And it was originally when it was posted, it was posted anonymous, and then this guy he came forward and oh my god, his name just completely slipped my mind. Who wrote the original one? Oh my gosh. Anyway, I'll get it in a minute. So the other one that's really, really weird is that in the middle of it, it says when Santa is actually at their house, it says a bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. But I, one, don't remember the word peddler.
Never. Peddler and orb.
I remember the word sack in this poem.
Yeah.
The word sack is no longer in this poem. And the other thing is, so this is number 4 now, is in the original poem, it's Dunder and Blixen instead of Donner and Blitzen. Yes. And no one knows when or why Dunder was changed to Donner.
Did Michael Scott go back in time and change it from Donner to Dunder, as in Dunder Mifflin?
Yeah, this is what man, who why can't I had the name right here of who wrote the original. Anyway, I'll get it to it in a minute. But so in 1949, that's when Johnny Marks wrote the song Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and that's when we first really actually hear the word Donner. But what's weird is that where did he get Donner from? And prior to that, it was actually Dunder, which actually means thunder. So this is so freaking weird to me. And we have some clips showing different versions of this, of different people reading this. So, and Lindsay, she showed the original article from the Troy Sentinel and the in 1840s when it was posted, and Clement Clark Moore, that's right, Clement Clark Moore, and everyone thinks he's a European, but no, he's an American. So it's so freaking weird. But here is okay, so Lindsay, can you show this John Malkovich skit? So this is actually we can't show the whole skit, but you guys got to watch this John Malkovich reading "Twas the Night Before Christmas" on Saturday Night Live. It is actually really freaking funny. I would highly recommend watching.
The children were nestled snug in their beds while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads, and Mama in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled down for a long winter's nap.
So he says settle down there. That's what's so cool about this. Like, he actually says settle down, but in the original, or in now, when you hear most people reading it, including Christmas Vacation, I always remember him reading settle down.
Chevy Chase?
Yeah, Chevy Chase's Our Brains.
Not.
Yeah. So here's John. So this is again John Malkovich reading the very end of it now.
You know, I'm getting the sense that not many of you are enjoying this. I mean, I'm in this assumption. Okay, well, kids, let's put it this way: you've rendered all this useless. Okay,
it's so funny.
But I heard him exclaim as he drove out of sight, "Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night." So, Merry Christmas, children.
Wow.
Now there's an old cartoon that I actually used to watch this as a kid. We used to always watch this. And this cartoon, it says Our Brains and it says Happy Christmas. And I don't remember hearing this either way when I was growing up.
Like
this is the.
But I heard him exclaim ere he drove out of sight,
Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
Yeah, no.
And it also says Our Brains, and it says Happy Christmas. And this is something that I used to watch a lot as a kid, and it's just so freaking weird to me. And the Muppets
Brains is super awkward in there,
dude. It's so weird. It's so weird. Every time I hear somebody say it, it's kind of like putting your fingers on a chalkboard. Like it just doesn't settle.
Doesn't go with it.
Yeah, it's like it's always been settled down. But then it's like, where did people get settled down? Because it's not even in the original in the original story or poem. So yeah, so I mean, and the reason why Clement didn't want his name to be associated with it at first was because he was a very like people really saw him as this really high quality professor, you know, teaching at this university and everything else, and he didn't want to be associated with this like children's. He just found it kind of like lowbrow, you know. It's just like, yeah, whatever. He wrote it for a story, I think, for somebody, for some kids or something, and it was published. But then when it just caught wildfire, like everybody just loved this poem, and so then he came out. Now there's some debate whether he actually, like, people are debating it, but it's like no one else ever came forward saying like, no, it was actually me that wrote it, you know.
Right.
The story makes sense. So anyway, and Michael Bublé, he actually reads the Twas the Night Before Christmas, and he says the same thing. He says Happy Christmas, and I think he says Happy Christmas. Actually, Lindsay, can we play this one?
I don't trust that guy.
Whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim as he drove out of sight, "Merry Christmas!"
Oh, he says Merry Christmas. Sorry.
To you all. Yeah. Good night.
But I'm shocked by how many places now say Happy Christmas, and I'm like, you just never say. Okay, in England they do say Happy Christmas,
but that's like a cultural thing.
But that's a cultural thing, and it doesn't make any sense why this guy, you know, wrote this. And in the Muppets, we don't really have to play the Muppets, but that was another one I grew up with, and they say Merry Christmas, and even my brother and I were talking about it because it was one that we watched every year as a kid, and we're both like, dude, I remember the two saying Merry Christmas, and they do say Merry Christmas, but I can't remember if they say our brains or oh shit, what's this? Okay, please.
Ben,
sorry. Okay, that's Harry Potter saying Happy Christmas. Sorry. Anyway. This really is super weird to me, and I didn't even know about the like the brains one is one I was looking into, and then I started finding more, and I honestly think that there's other lines in this poem that wasn't there in the original one. So,
yeah, this is super weird. The Donder and Blixen thing is super weird.
It is. And even Snopes didn't have any kind of explanation for why Donder was changed to or Dunder was changed to Donner. Like,
yeah, usually their explanation is humans suck, kill humans.
Yeah, everyone's like, well, the first time it was mentioned was Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and it's like, well, he probably wrote that based on the reindeer's names from Twas the Night Before Christmas. So, but Dunder and Blixen, those two words specifically mean thunder and lightning. So that's why it makes sense. Actually, it's Donder and Blixen instead of Donner and Blitzen. Yeah. So,
yeah, I don't get it.
Anyway, I guess the other way is German. That could be so.
All right.
Anyway,
yeah, we're gonna move on now to our Metaphysical Minute. You guys got to check this out. Tucker Carlson has been opening up a lot recently, a lot more about what he actually thinks, and we've got a little clip here that we're gonna pull up for you guys to watch. It's interesting because, you know, the stuff just comes out in its own time, you know. Lindsay. Here we go.
It's my personal belief based on fair amount of evidence that they're not aliens. They've always been here. And I do think it's spiritual. That's what it is. So, and again, it's not provable, but based on the evidence, I think
I'm with you. Absolutely.
I think if the U.S. government has in fact had direct contact with these beings, whatever they are, I've already told you what I think they are, and has entered into some sort of agreement with them, which is the claim of informed people, I would say, whether they're right or wrong, I can't say conclusively. But if that is true, I mean, it's a very, very, very heavy thing.
Yeah, a lot of people say interdimensional beings.
Right. I want to ask: Are angels and demons, or how would you describe these beings?
You know, these are, again, I'm getting into the realm of conjecture, so I just want to say that flat out.
Entity.
But one thing I know for a dead certain fact, having seen it, is that there is good and evil, that we are being acted upon at all times. And I think every person can feel that in himself. I mean, there are moments when you are moved to do things that are much better than you actually are, and that are also more evil and destructive than you actually are. You are subject to forces from outside yourself. That is absolutely true. Now, we can argue about what they are, but every person in the room, if he's reflective, will tell you, yes, I know what you're talking about. And so there are forces that are not human, that do exist in a spiritual realm of some kind, that we cannot see, and that when you think about it, sort of make you think we live in an ant farm.
Yeah.
Being right. And that's just, that is real.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's many.
Man, that's so fascinating. It makes you like the fact that he's saying, like, because more recently he's been saying some really interesting things.
I know, right?
Right. So it makes me wonder that, one, he's either come across very concrete documentation or some kind of like physical evidence to show him this, or something else going on. Like maybe, I mean, I'm sure he has so many crazy contacts within the military and things like that. I mean, they've probably been sending him so much stuff over the years. And I think now it's like, hey, I'm not on Fox News. I can just kind of talk about this stuff.
He's had access to guys for the last however long he's been doing this, 25 years or something, who after the show have probably been like, hey, I want to talk to you about something. They let loose after the show. And he's like, he's just been, you know, taking notes on this stuff for years, and now he's just opening up about it. That's the only thing
that's kind of that's kind of what I think too. I think he handled that question really wisely.
He handles all these questions really well. I think he doesn't pretend to know something that he doesn't, and he's very clear when he says things, where it's coming from, whether or not there's evidence, and all of this.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, I mean, the way he's kind of coming off is like, look, I don't really know how to answer that. This is what I do know. That's all I'm saying is like, it's like maybe he saw some kind of evidence of alien bodies, right? So it's like, I don't know. All I know is that, yeah, there's good and evil in this world. And
you know, Ben, one of the weirder things that John and I came across as we were doing our series on Mount Shasta is this group of people that had been over in this area. You can call them what you want. You can call them Lemurians. You can call them the I can't remember, the Wagas or something like that. Then the Native Americans had this name for them. There are articles that came out talking about how these beings, these tall human-like humanoid beings, had contact with our governments. In that there was an exchange between the governments, almost like you can imagine elves and men having dealings or something like this, right? They know of one another, they talk to one another, they stay out of one another's hair, but these things go on, right? I mean, who's to say that is not happening right now? Who's to say these things are not going on? They're just hidden better and controlled a little bit better for different reasons.
I mean, it's true. It really is. And like, you know, we keep kind of bringing up the incident that happened with, I forget, it's called a very specific name, with President Eisenhower and the you know, supposedly one of the alien races, and they were like secretly making deals with other cultures and everything else. So yeah, I mean, I think at this point, I think the question I wish the question that the media would be asking is not whether these things are real or not. Has there been a cover up? And if so, why? You know, and these aren't questions that the media.
They're fair questions to ask, though.
Yeah.
Well, hey, before we move on to our next thing, I just want to give a shout out here to number 9, who said Merry Christmas Rise TV and gave us a $100 donation. Thank you so much.
Wow, that's
really
awesome.
Thank you very much.
Number 9. That's pretty cool. So thank you, number 9, whoever you are.
Yeah, good number.
It is. All right. You know, one thing we kind of want to bring up too before we jump into the Christmas Tree Mafia story, which is so insane. Shin Yun, I don't know if you guys, you know, Rob and I kind of talk about it a lot because it's something that we see almost every year, but they are kicking off their tour. And if you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend watching it. It is just, after everything that's going on in the world today,
uplift yourself with this.
It's just so uplifting and moving. Everyone I've had go see it, I've just been like, man, this has been, you know, thank you for recommending this. This has been awesome. So I know they're kicking off their tour. It's actually already started, and I know it's in, like, there's some in Texas, Florida, Dallas, and then
it's incredible to see what human beings can do on a stage. And they push it further than anyone I've seen push this. It's amazing. It's beautiful. And it's all of this hidden this culture that has been hidden, and they attempted to destroy it in China, and it's all coming back through this show, and it's just a beautiful thing to support. So if you can go bring your family. Honestly, you'll feel better after you go see it.
You really will. Yeah, it's just so uplifting and very spiritual, honestly.
Yeah.
Really
it doesn't matter what belief you have. When you leave that, you just feel uplifted.
Yeah, and actually, okay, in December, it's coming to also, well, I said some cities it's coming to, but it's also coming to Japan, Italy, United Kingdom, and a few others too. So, I mean, that's just in December. So it will be traveling all over the world, I think, all through next April, usually.
Yeah.
So yeah, good stuff. All right. Yeah, it's just, can't say enough about it. Just so moving and so inspirational. So, all right, we're going to show another trailer, and then when we get back, we have our Christmas Tree Mafia in New York City.
Yes.
It's crazy stuff.
You know the look. You know the voice. Will you be able to help solve them? We wonder. You know the fear, unexplained deaths, lost persons, wonders and miracles. In the history of Edge of Wonder, few programs have been so shocking, so imagination-defying, so captivating as Unsolved Wonders. Perhaps you can help solve one of these wonders. Get ready for the holiday special you'll have to see to believe. Unsolved Wonders of Christmas. Hosted by Ben Chastain Stack and Rod Count Stack.
Go ahead, Ben.
Oh, no, what were you going to say?
Nothing. Probably the same thing you were going to say, which is that our holiday deal is on right now. And for just, what is it? We have it to 25% deal, and you get, basically comes to about $7 a month. You can subscribe to Rise TV now and get access to our full catalog of stuff on Rise TV. About 400 videos, over 400 videos. Pretty
seriously,
yeah,
so much.
And yeah, please come hang out with us. Come hang out with our community. You can support our show, support a highly censored show. You know, we've gotten hit pretty hard since
sure have.
Yeah,
we definitely have hit. We got hit very hard, but thank you guys. You know, honestly, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be able to continue on with what we're doing. So thank you for supporting us through all these years. 2018,
for sure.
So crazy to think about.
Also, on Christmas Eve, we're going to have a live watch party to watch those unsolved wonders of Christmas on rise.tv. We just kind of, repeat of some pretty awesome content. That was pretty fun what we did there. Dress up like Robert Stack from Unsolved Mysteries and break it down one time,
Break it down. Yeah, seriously. Oh, we got a new member in the chat. It says so. That's cool.
Who's that?
Van Isle Girl.
Nice.
Yeah, and we also had another
Van Isle Girl.
We also had a really big donation too from Hospice Angel.
Oh,
So,
Hospice Angel. Thank you.
Yeah. I guess it was earlier, maybe before we started the show.
Well, we must
so
not have seen it. So sorry.
Yeah, I don't think we saw it. So,
but hey, let's talk about how the mafia runs Christmas trees.
how the mafia. This is one of the most insane things I think we've really came across in a while, in a sense of we've come across weird, crazy conspiracy stuff, but this is just
takes the cake.
It's it really does. And actually, what made me think about this the other day, I was watching something, and they were selling Christmas trees. I think it was in some movie or something. And I was like, dude, there's something in New York that we uncovered. And then all of a sudden it hit me when we were working for the Epic Times, Rob and I, one of the things that I went out and did was actually report on this story, because people were getting threatened who had shops in New York City on the streets, selling Christmas trees. And we're like, wait a minute, you're getting threatened for selling Christmas trees? What in the heck is going on? So this guy named Owen Long, he ended up he wrote this massive article, and basically his story is that he worked for this guy named Greg Walsh. And Greg Walsh, he seems to be, he says that's the guy that was actually on the front we just showed there in the Santa costume.
Yeah.
He likes to say he's like the original Saint Nick. He said the guy is just a massive character to work for. But there's all this crazy stuff that happened between then and there. And so some of the main characters is another guy named George Nash, who went from selling trees kind of here and there, mostly transporting trees back and forth, to managing nearly 24 locations. And the weird thing is, there's this guy named this guy whose last name is Hammer, and this dude is the one where
is his first name MC?
His first name is not MC, and I'm trying to remember what his first name was. Kevin Hammer is his name, and he remained a mystery for a very long period of time. But I just want to, and then on top of that, so how Christmas trees even became a thing. And this is something I didn't even know. It was in 1851. And this Dutchman named Mark Carr, and they said he probably didn't even celebrate Christmas, couldn't even care less about it. And he came from Germany, where Christmas trees was a thing. Christmas trees was not a thing. In fact, Christmas wasn't even a thing at that time in the US. And he made, for $1, he set up a shop on the streets on the Washington Market in New York, in Manhattan specifically, and sold all of his trees in one day to people that didn't even celebrate, or they weren't even buying trees at the time. So he told these massive stories, and then all of a sudden Christmas trees became a thing. And this dude really is credited for bringing the Christmas tree to life here in the United States, believe it or not. So how this all got started, I just want to read this because this is so crazy. And this is part of this article that I was reading. Christmas trees are a big business in New York. A lot of people see the quaint plywood shacks that appear on sidewalks just before Thanksgiving, each with its own tiny forest of evergreens, and they imagine that everyone is independently owned, maybe by a jolly of families of lumberjacks looking to make a few holiday bucks. But in reality, a few eccentric, obsessed, sometimes ruthless tycoons control the sale of almost every single tree in the city. and they call them the Tree Men. And they spend 11 months preparing for Christmas time, which to them is a blistering 30-day sprint to grab as much cash as they can. So, this, basically this massive story of how kind of this clash between George Nash, Kevin Hammer, and literally the Gambinos mafia family are involved in this big, huge thing. And this dude, Kevin Hammer, believe it or not, he's a Scientologist. So, so I don't know. There you go. But anyway, so this dude is really credited for owning almost the entire market. So if you want to set up a shop in New York City, let's say, you have your, you have access to a local farm, or you yourself are doing it or whatever. So every year there's a bid for different areas in the city. And most of the time it's like, we're kind of under agreement. Like, hey, look, I don't care how much you put in or how much money you're bidding on this. The spot is mine, It's
like territories. It's split up by territories.
Yeah. And it's like that way every year. And then sometimes you may actually bid higher than me, which would cause issues. And so this dude who wrote this article, people who worked for this Hammer guy were even afraid to give their names and even say too much of their personal stories.
Wow.
Yeah. And it says, people who've sold Christmas trees for Hammer wanted to remain anonymous. There's no interview and there's no application. The only way to work in this network is to be referred by an insider. And Hammer was never exacted. He never would put revenge on people. If there was some kind of competition that happened, what he would do is set up shop right in front of their location and basically steal all their business and undercut everything. And this is one of the more insane. There's two really parts of this that are the most insane. But so the author Owen Long, he wrote about a story in which he took a nap because they were working long hours, like 12-hour days sometimes in the cold, So he took a nap and he woke up. And when he woke up, he said he saw a loaded handgun laying on a table with ornaments, pointing at the sidewalk where mothers were pushing their strollers. He covered up the gun with decorations. When the police arrived, an officer picked up the gun with two fingers and requested a box. He said, well, like how big? And the police officer said, oh, a gun-sized box. He says the big names have all known one another for years or once worked for each other. Among them, there's a delicate balance. They're like a dysfunctional family, harboring and overcoming grudges in direct competition, but united by a shared purpose. So,
weird.
Yeah. And then he says the betrayal isn't revealed until at the end, until all the major players gather around a long table at Parks Department on Fifth Avenue and simultaneously open sealed envelopes containing the auction results. So it's like, that's what I was talking about. Like they all have put these bids for where they want to grow up. And this Greg Walsh guy, he worked for this Hammer. Everyone once upon a time worked for Hammer, and then he went his own way, and it wasn't without consequence though. But he's talking about Hammer here, and he says he said he grew the tree. So this is what Hammer would tell people when he's selling trees to people. He said he grew the trees himself on the mountaintop, chopped them down with a hatchet, and carried them home on a mule. And he said people loved it. And every single person, he used the same line. I hope this is the very best Christmas you've ever had. He said it really sincere. It was disgusting to witness. But what we are really selling here, happiness, right? So in that sense, they got a good deal. But Rob, I want you to read the murder that happened over selling Christmas trees, if you guys can believe this.
Yeah, sure.
Let's see.
So, okay, the murder. Glenn Walker was an attorney turned peddler who lived with his wife and son, who he called a rascal head, or just rascal head. Like
Just
that was his nickname. He sold watermelons, pumpkins, and Christmas trees. In 1992, two men in long leather coats strolled into his lot in Baychester and demanded $3,000 in cash. They called it protection money, and Walker obediently paid up. The next year, however, he took matters into his own hand, hiring 3 overnight security guards to patrol the 7-foot fence surrounding his lot. When the two men returned on Black Friday, Walker declined their protection. A week later, unseen attackers lobbed twin firebombs over Walker's defenses, igniting several hundred of his white pines and Douglas firs. Fire marshals interviewed Walker as he surveyed the ashes, but he knew better than to name names. Stubbornly, he reinforced his fence and hired more guards, one armed. The next year, on November 2nd, 1994, two men burst into Walker's office while he and his secretary prepared for the season. Walker was chatting on the phone with his wife when the men entered. One man seized his secretary, holding her down. The other put a gun to Walker's left temple. At home in Tallahassee, Florida is ghetto, my friends. His wife heard shouts and screams, then her husband saying, "This is it." A single gunshot followed. Delgado called out, "Donna, call the police," before somebody hung up the phone.
Delgado was his secretary.
Nash took over Walker's lot after the shooting. What does that mean, Nash?
Nash, he's one of the other people. George Nash. Yeah,
George Nash. Got it. Yeah.
He's another player in this. He also worked for Hammer, and then he kind of went off and also started having his own lots. Like basically, like you can't really have your own lot unless it seems like once upon a time you worked for this guy named Hammer, and you had some kind of agreement with him.
Wow.
And George Nash ended up paying like a bribe basically to be able to sell his own Christmas trees.
I see. So Nash took over Walker's lot after the shooting. 7 weeks after Walker's death, a man named William Pinero approached him and asked for $10,000 on behalf of a soldier in John Gotti's crew. Nash paid.
Yeah. So he paid it, so he's able to now sell Christmas trees without having the Gambino crime family coming after him.
So John Joseph Gotti Jr. was an American mafioso and boss of the Gambino crime family in New York City. Nash took over Walker's lot after the shooting. He told me that 7 weeks after Walker's death, a man named William Pinero. Oh, we already read this, right?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
So in 1996, Delgado picked Pinero out of a lineup, and he was charged with Walker's murder. Nash testified in court against him and provided key evidence. Amazingly, Pinero had written Nash a receipt for the extortion fee. He was sentenced to 25 years to life. Wow.
Why would you write an extortion fee?
Yeah.
I'm going to write a receipt for this. So get this. In 1999, the Daily News in New York wrote about this guy, Kevin Hammer, and they compared him to the Bill Gates of Christmas trees. Oh man. And this guy, so what happened was, how this guy even started was this guy George Nash. He was delivering Christmas trees back and forth, and this guy, this Hammer dude, who was only like, he was really young at the time, he drove up to him in his car and basically was like, "I want to help you do this. What do I need to do?" And from that moment on, he basically started taking over the tree market. And then, you know, he originally was working for this guy, and then he had everyone start working for him, and then completely took over the business. So the sad thing is that people in New York City, this is such a major custom, you know, buying trees on the streets of New York City. I mean, they're everywhere, and it's a huge festive, full of lights and everything else, you know, and it's just part of the holiday tradition where everyone buys their trees on the street thinking that they're getting them from a mom and pop shop. And lo and behold, you're actually buying it from a mafia family. So And this dude, this Hammer guy, he's actually suing Home Depot of tree fraud.
So when did all of this go on? In the 90s?
This is just happening. This happened last year.
But
this
wait,
is still going on.
So this mafia stuff is all happening around now?
Yes, it's still going on to this day. Yeah, this article was just written.
But when was Hammer at large in New York City doing stuff? In the 90s?
He started in, I think, even in he's been doing this for 20 years. He's been doing this.
And he's connected to the mafia somehow?
Yeah, all of this is connected now. Yeah. It's insane. It really is. And he has get this. He has a company called Evergreen East. And when you look it up,
he looks like one of those New Yorkers that'll headbutt you when you walk by him for sure.
Yeah, he kind of does. I mean, it looks like he would be nice on the surface, right? But it's like, who knows? But so this Evergreen East company is actually based out of Florida, believe it or not. And they said that they think he spends most of his time on his yacht, and then he'll just come to New York, in December, and that's it, and sell Christmas trees. So yeah, it's so crazy. And so like the Epic Times had this article in 2015, and they were really kind of breaking things down, and the Christmas tree industry is worth $1.4 billion. A little over $1 billion. And that was in 2000.
To put this into perspective, Dunkin' Donuts is like a $3 billion company.
Yeah.
So Christmas, that's no joke, man.
Yeah. $1 billion industry that all takes place in literally 1 month. That's
such a simple way to funnel tons of cash into all of these like crazy mafia.
Yeah, and get this. So
can you imagine that? But wait. You buy a Christmas tree in New York and you're supporting the mafia. That's hilariously terrible.
That is so terrible. Yeah, and the Epic Times really uncovered a lot in their reporting that wasn't in any other article that I could find. Like, for example, they uncovered that it's all cash business. Most of these places don't accept credit cards. They want cash. And sales tax so the Epic Times wrote, sales tax on Christmas trees is required, but it's questionable how much that actually happens.
Well, that's because they don't report any of the cash coming in. It's so easy to not report. Just be like, oh yeah, it wasn't a good year for Christmas trees, and then really,
So this is also what the Epic Times uncovered too, because it's all in cash. They found that people, the employees, were being paid like sometimes 60% less than what they were originally told that they would be paid, because they're like, oh, sorry, business. There it is, right there. It's like business wasn't bad, or was bad this year, so I can't give you the money that was promised, And it's like you can't even keep track of how much they made, although you could see how many Christmas trees were sold. But then you're like, oh, there's multiple locations, even though there's everything sold here, maybe in their other location it didn't sell, and you kind of get the idea. Like maybe that's where it's going. There's hardly any paperwork or permits needed to sell Christmas trees. And this could actually be from like the mafia threatening, lawmakers and all kinds of things so it's harder to enforce tax laws on Christmas trees. So, and there's all kinds of dirty tactics used.
It's really crazy. Like this mafia stuff needs to get, like, think about it. The only way you could be an honest official is if you had no family and no wish to live.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's crazy. And like you may have, let's say you have like, you are truly like a mom and pop's kind of place, and you have like your spot that you have every year that you put your bid in for or whatever, and you get that spot. And then I may come in, and it's always in front of a store shop, right? So I may go into that store shop and say, hey, I don't know what's going on with your deal with you and him, but I'll give you, $5,000 if you kick him out and have me replace them, and I'll just give you $5,000 cash. So then they just kick you out, and all of a sudden I just took over your spot. And there's nothing you can do about it.
This is so bizarre. How much of the money that you make actually just goes to them for even having the spot?
Yeah. And then here's the kicker though, because they manage almost all of the of the shops, they can charge whatever they want for Christmas trees.
Yeah.
It's like a monopoly on it. So they can say, oh, this year harvest was a little bit harder, and we have to jack up the prices of it, or we're our competitor we're fighting with over there, and it's like the same company, So it's like you have no idea what is going on.
Oh yeah, COVID was really hard on us, so now the tree's a double price. No trees were planted during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Oh
so
yeah, that was the other thing that they said. Like during COVID, all the tree, there was like a shortage in trees.
Yeah,
so, wow, dude. Yeah, it's pretty insane. And then of course, when I saw like the Gambino crime family, I'm like, what the heck? And in New York City was the very first place that Christmas trees were starting to like be sold in the US, at least on like a widespread, where it's like, then it kind of branched out from there, where it's like, oh yeah, everyone wants Christmas trees now. But I can't believe that Christmas wasn't even a national holiday in the United States until the late, like sometime around like 1870s. They made it a national holiday, and I just thought it was always kind of.
Wait, we got to get into this a little bit. So, New York City Christmas tree supplier accuses Home Depot of tree fraud. This is a New York Post article. So, Evergreen East, a Wisconsin-based Christmas tree cooperative that bills itself as New York's finest Christmas tree sellers, alleges Home Depot, Whole Foods Market, and their supplier conspired last year to scam Big Apple tree buyers by labeling cheaper Canadian balsam firs as pricey Fraser firs, the Cadillac of conifers, according to court papers. The Manhattan Federal Court complaint alleges that during the 2019 Christmas season, the retailers sold potentially hundreds of thousands of balsam fir trees, which they intentionally mislabeled and falsely advertised as Fraser fir trees. The Frasers are sold on Manhattan sidewalks by Evergreen's mom and pop shop clients for upwards of $179 for a 6-footer and $699 for a 12-footer.
I love how they said mom and pop shops.
Yeah,
because everyone thinks that they're mom and pop shops, but they're not.
But dude, I think I bought a Christmas tree a couple weeks ago for like $80.
Really?
Yeah, like these are like, this is ridiculous. Like $699 for.
Yeah, you're not in New York City. That's what we're not anymore. But
I know.
That's why. That's why.
Hammer said New Yorkers want what they pay for. So Home Depot is not Canal Street where you buy a fake Gucci bag. People go in there and see a tree from Canada and don't realize it's second or third rate, he said. Canadians, just kidding. You're paying for a Gucci bag and you're getting a Gucci bag, he said. This is such a like lame.
I know. Well, it makes me wonder if they are like doing this practice, or that they're just. I mean, honestly, I think they're just angry that they're taking sales away, right? Because they're probably selling them at a cheaper rate than what they're selling them for. So people are now going over there, and so who knows if this is even true? Maybe they're just doing this just to cause issues and just try to point fingers at them and be like, hey, let's come over here. We have the better deals and we have the better trees. And it's just so weird.
Look at this. Scott Lechner, the owner of Soho Trees, said that some vendors engage in dirty tactics due to the intense competition between stands. Betrayals are common. Quote, they pay the store owner some money and all of a sudden you lose your spot and the clientele that you spent years building, Lechner said. Oh, man.
Yeah. So weird. So weird. Anyway, I just can't believe that this is still going on. You know, you'd think that someone would do something, but that whole scene with that gun and the police officer, where they're like, it was almost like they were just know what's going on. I don't know. Makes you wonder if they're kind of.
This is wild, dude. Wild. All right. Well,
So sad. Is nothing sacred, not even Christmas trees.
I know.
Well, although we do kind of get into a lot of the Christmas tree aspect and all the occult stuff, and really kind of how the occult refers to the Christmas trees and our what is it, exposing we ruined Christmas. It was like, you know, the episode where we ruined Christmas for everybody, unfortunately.
Well, and listen, if you're in New York City and you need a Christmas tree, just think that when you buy one, you are supporting the mafia. I'm just not sure what kind of person you are anymore. Just kidding.
Oh, that's so sad.
That's crazy, man. Crazy.
So sad.
So yeah, this is a great episode that we did. Ben and Rob Ruined Christmas. We did this a few years ago. See, it says, please don't watch this video. It's our sense of humor here. But yeah, no, we get into it. What exactly is the symbolism behind Christmas? Some general history on what happened. Also, a couple of metaphysical episodes that came out recently, all about Constantine and Nimrod. Yeah, and if you watch all of those, you'll have a pretty good idea. And actually, the Shroud of Turin you could watch too, because all of those kind of mashed together into understanding a little bit more about Christmas and all of that stuff. You know, I was explaining all of the history around this stuff to my dad today. We were on a trip to like Home Depot at one point, and I was just telling him about this, and it was like, it was interesting. He was like picking up what I was laying down, you know. Well, anyway, you guys, we've got to jump off now here and go over to rise.tv, where we're going to be doing a live Q&A, and then we're also going to be getting into the top 10 weirder news of the week. And yeah, again, so our Miracles and Mystery series here that Lindsay has pulled up, these are all of our work that we did around Christmas. Is really interesting stuff, all revolved around Christmas miracles, some really super bizarre real life Santa Claus stories that like honestly kind of freaked us out a little bit.
Yeah, it was weird.
And just, yeah, like good deeds and Christmas spirit stuff that I think will really lift you up a little bit. So if you're thinking about joining rise.tv and subscribing, now is the time to do it. We're closing in on December 31st here when this deal ends. And so we'd love to have you over. Join our platform for a year and hang out with us. And it's going to pick up in 2024. We're going to have a lot of stuff out there, and we'd love to have you on our platform. So please get the deal and come on now. Ben, did you have anything else to add to that before we go over? I think you're muted, dude.
Oh, geez. Yeah, something happened there. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, no, I'm good. Thank you so much. And we have some great weirder news for you guys that will definitely make you laugh. And
oh, yeah. What do you got? What do you got to tease us with tonight, Ben?
Well, we got the USDA issues a permit for Santa and his reindeer to enter the U.S. How really rich were the McCallisters from Home Alone? You know, their family.
Oh, so now instead of like, can Thanos' gauntlet snap, they're doing stuff on the McCallisters.
Yeah,
that's nice.
And the big one, how sniffing woman's tears make you less aggressive.
Okay, I'm in. I'm
And how a 4-month-old baby survived a tornado.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. Some cool stuff we got.
All right. Well, you guys come on over, watch Weirder News with us, and join our live Q&A. We hope you have a wonderful Christmas wherever you're watching. Do some good, but between now and the first of the year, do some selfless stuff, feel good about yourself, and get ready for a wonderful new year.
Yep. Oh yeah, we'll be doing it next week before the year is right. So yeah, we'll see you guys. We'll see you on Tuesday.
Yeah. See you over there.
The TV is biased and chaotic. The movies are cliche and boring. The Matrix is taking over.
Where can I find some good entertainment, for goodness sake?
Well, look no further. Get our streaming platform rise.tv for 25% off. Hundreds of videos, positivity, humor, and deep dives into mysteries and metaphysical topics.
What more could I ask for?
Want to hear the truth about Bigfoot, near-death experiences, the evils of communism, ancient civilizations, and supernatural things? Rise.tv has you covered.
I used to be sad, lonely, and depressed. Not anymore.
You'll love interacting with awesome people on rise.tv.
There's so much to watch.
Ben and Rob are great.
Those guys always make me forget the world is falling apart.
Subscribe to rise.tv yourself, or give your loved ones the gift of true, uncensored information. For the holidays, the yearly subscription is more than 25% off. That's just $7 a month.
I want rise.tv for Christmas.
Scrooge has nothing on one Santa who uses his final act to help his Tiny Tim.
A man catches a glimpse of something greater than himself when he stares in the eyes of a stranger in Grand Central Station.
A balloon letter to Santa returns with a miracle attached.
A historical truce, the power of righteous thoughts and miraculous escapes from mortal peril leave everyone amazed. Sometimes we have the opportunity to do good things for others, to spread goodwill toward men and treat every day like it's Christmas. At times like these, I like to think that Santa really does exist. And after our research into inspiring, real-life Santa stories and sightings, we think you're going to believe, too, when you hear what we found.
Join Edge of Wonder for Santa Claus stories, good deeds, and Christmas spirit.
All right, welcome back. Welcome over to rise.tv.
Yeah, hey guys.